Hello, esteemed gentlemen. The strongest moves are the ones nobody sees coming. That line isn't just poetry. It's survival strategy. In a world where everyone is oversharing, broadcasting their every thought and weakness on social media, the Sigma male does the opposite. He thrives by not revealing what makes him tick. And that's silence. It's not emptiness. It's calculated power. Studies have shown that people who keep their cards close are perceived as more intelligent, more mysterious, and more intimidating, even if they're just sitting there sipping coffee like it's a life or death negotiation. Sigma males have mastered this art to perfection. They don't just guard secrets, they weaponize them. But here's the funny twist. While most people struggle not to overshare after 2 drinks or 3 texts, Sigma males could be holding on to insights, grudges, or strategies for years without a single leak. They're like human safes, except nobody has the combination. And today we're cracking that vault. This isn't about cliches or recycled lone wolf fluff. This is about the 20 extraordinary things Sigma males never reveal, no matter how close you think you are. Buckle in, because once you see what they're hiding, you'll realize their silence speaks louder than most people's confessions. Number 1, their long-term exit strategy from society's game. Sigma males rarely talk about it, but deep down they carry a secret plan. The day they'll walk away from society's game entirely. It's not just a fantasy or some rebellious streak. It's an exit strategy they've been quietly crafting for years, even while blending into the crowd like everyone else. While others chase promotions, likes, and approval, a Sigma is already thinking 2 steps ahead about how to cut himself loose from the constant noise and dependence. This doesn't mean he hates society or that he can't function within it. In fact, most Sigma males can play the game well enough to win. But they never confuse playing the game with belonging to it. To them, the system is like a temporary stage, useful while it lasts, but never the final destination. That's why they're often misunderstood. People assume their detachment is laziness, lack of ambition, or indifference. In reality, it's strategy. They know exactly how much energy to invest before quietly rerouting all of it back to their long-term plan. That plan usually revolves around freedom. Not the loud, chest-thumping kind where someone declares they're free on Instagram, but the subtle, unshakable kind where they don't owe their life, time, or identity to anyone. It could look like building financial independence, mastering skills that let them survive on their own terms, or simply putting themselves in a position where they can vanish without asking permission. To them, that's the ultimate victory. Not applause, not status, but the ability to disappear into a life of their choosing. What makes this even more intriguing is how invisible it is. You could sit across from a Sigma male who's cracking jokes at work or sipping a drink at a bar, and you'd never guess he's already rehearsing his silent exit. He won't announce it, won't hint at it, and definitely won't seek validation for it. One day he'll just be gone. No drama, no farewell speeches. That's the part most people never grasp. The Sigma's detachment isn't coldness, it's preparation. While the world is busy trying to climb ladders, he's building the door that lets him step off entirely, and when he finally does, nobody sees it coming. Number 2, the exact moment they stopped trusting people. There's always a moment that changes everything. For Sigma males, that moment is when they stop trusting people. It's not a story they'll ever tell, and it's not something they parade around like a badge of honor. But buried deep inside them is a single event, or maybe a series of small ones, that flipped a switch. It could have been a betrayal, a humiliation, or simply realizing that the people they counted on were more interested in appearances than truth. Whatever it was, it reshaped the way they deal with the world, and they keep it hidden like classified information. The reason they never reveal this moment is simple. It's too powerful. If someone knew the exact trigger that hardened them, it would give outsiders a map straight to their core. They'd rather let people speculate, let them wonder why they don't open up fully, or why they move through life with a certain kind of guarded calm. That mystery itself becomes part of their strength. The fewer people know, the harder it is for anyone to ever reach in and use their scars against them. But that hidden wound isn't just pain locked away, it's the foundation of their self-reliance. The day they stopped trusting people was the day they realized they had to rely on themselves in a way most never do. It stripped away illusions, forced them to sharpen their perception, and made them allergic to fake promises. They may come across as detached or aloof, but behind that is a man who's seen what happens when blind trust is handed out too freely. What makes this so compelling is how invisible it is. You won't see anger flashing in their eyes or hear them ranting about how they've been wronged. They bury it under composure, and instead of letting it turn them bitter, they convert it into discipline. That unspoken memory pushes them to never put their happiness, freedom, or safety in someone else's hands again. And this is why Sigma males are so hard to truly pin down. You never know the exact moment they stopped believing in others, but you can feel the aftermath of it in everything they do. It's the invisible scar that silently shapes their entire way of life. Number 3. Their escape routes. Every Sigma male has a quiet contingency plan running in the background of his life. He might laugh with friends, show up at work, or even give his best in a relationship. But in the back of his mind, he's already worked out the escape route. It's not paranoia, and it's not a lack of loyalty, it's foresight. He knows that nothing in life is permanent. Friendships shift, workplaces collapse, relationships sour. Where others build blind trust in the stability of the present, the Sigma quietly prepares for the day when things don't hold together. This isn't about drama or plotting betrayal. If anything, it's the opposite. His escape plans are designed to be invisible, smooth, and without collateral damage. He doesn't slam doors or leave trails of chaos behind him. He slips out clean, with dignity, and without giving anyone ammunition to drag him back. That ability to detach without leaving traces is part of what unsettles people. They're used to dramatic breakups, messy exits, and people begging for closure. With him, there's nothing to hold on to. One day, he's simply gone. He never reveals this tendency because most people wouldn't understand. They'd see it as heartless or unfaithful, when in truth it's a protective instinct. To a Sigma, dependence is vulnerability, and vulnerability without caution is dangerous. By having an exit strategy in every environment, he avoids being trapped, financially, emotionally, or psychologically. It gives him the calm confidence to operate fully in the present, knowing he won't be cornered if things shift tomorrow. And this is where his foresight becomes his shield. Most people only think about exits when it's already too late. When the friendship has soured, the workplace has become toxic, or the relationship is in flames. The Sigma, on the other hand, has already laid the groundwork to walk away months or even years before the cracks show. It's not coldness, it's preparation. That's why Sigma males rarely panic when life takes a turn. Their safety net isn't built by others, but by themselves. They don't wait for collapse to react. They carry their exit with them like a hidden key, ready to unlock the door whenever the time comes. Number 4. The people they secretly admire. When a Sigma male truly admires someone, you'll almost never hear it from his lips. He could be in the presence of someone who inspires him, someone who genuinely challenges his thinking, or even someone he considers a rare equal. But he'll keep that admiration locked away. To most people, this comes across as indifference or worse, arrogance. But it isn't about pride. It's about power. Revealing admiration is like handing someone a key. The moment you admit respect, you give that person subtle psychological leverage. They may not even abuse it consciously, but human nature tends to shift when we know someone looks up to us. That tilt, that small imbalance in power, is exactly what the Sigma avoids at all costs. He would rather protect his independence than risk being subtly positioned as the one chasing approval. This doesn't mean Sigma males don't feel admiration, quite the opposite. When they encounter intelligence, discipline, creativity, or raw authenticity, they respect it deeply. But instead of showering praise, they study it quietly, sometimes even absorbing what they admire into their own way of living. It's less about idolizing and more about extracting value without announcing it. In a way, their silence is the purest form of respect. No flattery, no performance, just silent recognition. The irony is that the people they admire rarely ever know it. A Sigma might be taking mental notes on how someone leads with subtlety, or how someone's resilience never cracks under pressure, but he'll rarely let it slip. At most, you'll catch a small nod, a fleeting smirk, or an unusually long silence before he changes the subject. That's his version of applause. This secrecy keeps him untouchable. By not revealing admiration, he never risks becoming dependent on another's validation. He keeps his relationships balanced and his respect uncompromised. Because once people know they inspire you, they can unconsciously shift the dynamic, and the Sigma refuses to give anyone that kind of leverage. To him, admiration is best kept like treasure, valuable but buried where no one else can reach it. Number 5. Their unfiltered opinions of others' intelligence. Sigma males are constantly evaluating people's intelligence, but you'd never know it by looking at them. On the outside, they're calm, polite, maybe even a little too quiet. They'll nod along, let you finish your point, and never interrupt with judgment. But inside their head, the verdict has already been delivered. They've placed you in one of 3 categories: useful, dangerous, or irrelevant. This quiet sorting system isn't about arrogance or feeling superior. It's survival. Sigma males know that not every kind of intelligence is equal, and not every mind deserves equal weight in their lives. Someone they classify as useful might not be a genius, but they have sharp instincts, practical knowledge, or unique skills that can open doors. Someone they view as dangerous isn't necessarily smarter, but their cunning, manipulation, or influence makes them unpredictable, which means they must be watched closely. And then there's the irrelevant group, the people who talk a lot but say nothing, the ones who recycle ideas, or the ones who pretend to know more than they actually do. These people don't even register as competition. They're just background noise. The reason Sigma males never reveal these unfiltered opinions is because it would disrupt the balance. If someone knew how harshly and precisely they were being measured, it would either inflate their ego or crush it. Both outcomes are distractions. By keeping their assessments hidden, the Sigma preserves control. Everyone keeps acting naturally, unaware that they've already been filed into a mental category that dictates how much time, energy, or trust they'll ever get. What makes this so intriguing is how effortless it is for them. A few words, a casual conversation, even the way someone reacts under pressure, that's all it takes for the Sigma to know where you stand. And once you're placed, it's nearly impossible to move out of that category. They're not easily impressed, and they don't waste energy re-evaluating people who've already shown their hand. It's a system they never admit to, but it shapes every interaction they have. While the world thinks they're just being quiet and agreeable, the Sigma is already 3 steps ahead, silently deciding who's worth engaging, who's worth avoiding, and who doesn't matter at all. Number 6. The rage they've buried. Sigma males walk through life with a calm surface, but underneath that composure lies something far more volatile. Rage that has been buried deep, layered over with discipline, and locked away where no one can see it. It's not the kind of rage that explodes in public or lashes out in arguments. It's controlled, simmering, and precise, like a blade sharpened in silence. The world sees calmness, but the Sigma knows that calmness is forged from fire that once nearly consumed him. That rage often comes from betrayal, times when trust was broken, loyalty was mocked, or vulnerability was exploited. Instead of screaming, fighting, or making a scene, he learned to swallow it, to let it burn quietly without exposing it. To most, that looks like indifference. They think he's over it or unbothered. But the truth is, he never forgets. That fury is stored away like fuel, repurposed into motivation, self-reliance, and an edge that makes him harder to deceive the next time. What makes this so unsettling is that it never leaks in obvious ways. A Sigma won't throw tantrums or wage petty wars. His version of rage is subtle but devastating, cutting ties without warning, dismantling an opponent's credibility with surgical precision, or outgrowing people so completely that their betrayal becomes irrelevant. To him, that's a sweeter revenge than any outburst could ever deliver. And yet, this buried rage is not purely destructive. It's also his engine. Every time he recalls how he was underestimated or wronged, it pushes him to refine his focus, upgrade his skills, and strengthen his independence. That's why Sigma males often appear relentless. They're not just chasing goals for the sake of success. They're channeling an inner fire that refuses to let betrayal define them. They'll never admit this out loud because exposing it would give away too much. If people knew how much fury sits behind that steady gaze, they'd try to exploit it or weaken it. So the Sigma smiles, stays composed, and lets the world assume he's unaffected. All the while, that buried rage keeps sharpening him, ensuring he never becomes the victim of the same mistake twice. Number 7. Their minimalist strategy with attachments. For Sigma males, attachments are never left to chance. While most people dive headfirst into friendships, romances, or alliances, and only think about boundaries later, the Sigma approaches them like a strategist. On the surface, he may appear warm, attentive, even invested, but beneath that, he's already set invisible limits. He keeps things light, layered, and carefully structured so that if the bond ever turns toxic or draining, he can walk away without tearing himself apart. This isn't because he lacks emotion. In fact, he often feels deeply. The difference is that he refuses to let feelings trap him in obligations he didn't sign up for. To him, unnecessary emotional webs are just cages dressed up as connections. He's seen how people confuse guilt with loyalty, or mistake constant sacrifice for love, and he refuses to play by those rules. His version of loyalty is clean, not messy. It's chosen daily, not demanded endlessly. What most don't realize is how much thought goes into this. Sigma males give just enough of themselves to be genuine, but not so much that they become dependent on anyone's approval. They'll share pieces of their life, but never the whole puzzle. They'll care, but they'll never let caring blind them. This balance means that while others are drowning in emotional debts, the Sigma moves with freedom. To outsiders, this minimalist approach can feel cold, even ruthless. People often misinterpret it as detachment or fear of intimacy, but the truth is, it's efficiency. By avoiding tangled obligations, he protects the purity of the connections that do matter. If he stays, it's because he wants to, not because he's trapped. That distinction makes his relationship stronger, not weaker. He never reveals this strategy because most people can't handle it. They want reassurance that he's all in forever, that he's bound by the same unspoken chains they tie themselves with. But the Sigma doesn't do chains. His relationships are like clean lines drawn in the sand, easy to step across, but just as easy to erase if they start poisoning his peace. That's what makes his attachment so rare. When he chooses you, it's not out of habit or obligation. It's because in his minimalist world, you've proven worthy of staying. Number 8. The disguised test they run on everyone. Every interaction with a Sigma male carries more weight than it seems. On the surface, it looks casual. A delayed reply, a half smile, a sarcastic comment tossed into the conversation. But beneath that calm exterior, he's running a quiet experiment. He's watching how you react, not to annoy you or play games, but to measure the core of who you really are. Most people miss this completely. They think the late reply was just forgetfulness, or the vague answer was a sign of distraction. What they don't see is that the Sigma is reading every flicker of irritation, every overreaction, every subtle shift in tone. To him, these tiny cracks reveal more about someone's loyalty, intelligence, and depth than any long-winded confession ever could. He's not interested in polished words. He's interested in raw, unfiltered responses when people don't know they're being watched. The test isn't about perfection either. He's not grading people like a teacher with a red pen. What he's looking for is patterns. Who panics when they're left hanging? Who respects space? Who tries to manipulate? Who reveals insecurity without realizing it? In his mind, these patterns separate the people worth investing in from the ones who will eventually drain him. What makes this test so effective is its invisibility. Nobody suspects it because it feels like ordinary interaction. And the Sigma never reveals it, because the moment people know they're being tested, their behavior changes. Authenticity disappears, and the experiment is ruined. So he keeps it quiet, collecting data with every small, seemingly insignificant exchange. Some would call this manipulative, but for the Sigma, it's self-preservation. He doesn't believe in blind trust or quick attachments. He knows the cost of letting the wrong person in, and he refuses to pay that price again. By disguising tests as casual moments, he ensures that people reveal themselves honestly, without filters or performance. That's why when a Sigma male finally lets someone into his inner circle, it means something. That person has unknowingly passed dozens of quiet exams. They've proven loyalty in silence, intelligence without showing off, and depth without begging for attention. And the Sigma? He won't say it, but he's already decided who's worth keeping and who never stood a chance. Number 9. Their rehearsed vulnerability. When a Sigma male opens up, it's rarely what it seems. To the untrained eye, it looks like he's finally peeling back the layers, exposing some hidden pain or secret struggle. But in truth, what he shares is a fragment, a controlled, rehearsed vulnerability that costs him nothing. It's not the real wound, not the scar that actually shaped him, but a decoy designed with precision. This isn't about manipulation for the sake of games. It's about safety. Sigma males know that once you expose your deepest weakness, you give someone a weapon. Even the kindest people can turn dangerous if emotions shift, loyalties crack, or circumstances change. So instead of gambling with raw truth, they hand out something smaller, safer, a story that feels personal but doesn't cut too deep. To most people, that's enough. They feel trusted, they feel close, and they never realize they've only been shown the outer shell. The brilliance in this approach is that it doubles as a test. By dropping a carefully selected vulnerability, the Sigma watches what happens next. Do you guard it, respect it, and hold it with care? Or do you weaponize it, gossip about it, or push for more? Your response tells him everything he needs to know about your character, and because what he gave you wasn't the real wound, he loses nothing in the process. The few who pass this test never realize how significant it is. They just continue the conversation, unaware that they've proven themselves safe in ways most people never do. For the Sigma, those moments are rare but powerful. If someone handles the small fragment with respect, there's a chance, just a chance, that he might reveal something closer to the real core later. But he'll never admit this tactic exists. To expose it would kill its effectiveness and reveal just how cautious he really is. So he lets people believe they've been let into his inner world, while in reality, they're only standing in the lobby. The true depths remain locked away, untouched and unreachable, unless someone proves, over time, that they can be trusted with the truth that actually matters. Number 10. How they exploit underestimation. One of the Sigma male's sharpest weapons is the way he uses underestimation as camouflage. He knows most people size others up quickly and box them in just as fast. So instead of trying to correct those assumptions or prove himself, he leans into them. If someone assumes he's quiet because he has nothing to offer, he lets them think so. If they believe he's uninterested in climbing higher, he doesn't argue. He allows the world to draw its lazy conclusions, because in that blind spot, he gains freedom. By downplaying his ambition and abilities, he avoids drawing unnecessary attention. While others are busy showing off, broadcasting their goals, or flexing their accomplishments, the Sigma keeps his plans hidden. This makes him unpredictable. When he finally makes a move, whether it's securing an opportunity, executing an idea, or walking away from a system altogether, it lands with a shock. Nobody saw it coming because nobody was supposed to. That element of surprise becomes his greatest advantage. This tactic also shields him from envy and sabotage. Ambition attracts competitors, and success attracts resentment. The Sigma sidesteps both by appearing harmless, neutral, or even disinterested. People stop viewing him as a threat, which allows him to maneuver in peace. All the while he's quietly working, refining, and preparing to execute when it matters most. The beauty of this approach is that it flips a perceived weakness into strength. To the outside world, he looks passive, maybe even unmotivated. In reality, he's conserving energy, studying the landscape, and waiting for the exact moment to strike. That's why when he finally reveals his true capability, It feels like he came out of nowhere, but in truth, he was building in silence the entire time. He'll never admit to this strategy because exposing it would ruin the magic. If people knew how intentional his underestimation really was, they'd start guarding themselves, preparing for him, expecting moves he prefers to make in shadows. So he stays quiet, keeps the mask on, and lets people believe what they want. By the time they realize he's far more capable than they thought, it's already too late to adjust. Number 11. The duality of their identity. They wear faces the way others wear shirts, switched depending on the weather, who they're with, and what the room needs. This isn't acting. It's selective honesty. A Sigma's quietness around noisy extroverts isn't shyness. It's economy of energy. His wit around someone who values humor isn't performance, it's calibration. His cold analysis in a crisis isn't detachment, it's practicality. Each version is genuine, but none is the whole man, because revealing the whole would hand people a map to his edges and weaknesses. This duality makes him hard to read and harder to pin down. People expect one simple label: friendly, aloof, funny, serious. The Sigma refuses the convenience of a single label. He moves like a chameleon for a reason, not to hide identity, but to control what parts of himself are available. That control creates space to test, to learn, to keep relationships useful rather than entangling. When he's different with different people, he's not being fake. He's being strategic about which truths are safe to share. Because of this, people misjudge him constantly. Some call him inconsistent, others call him unreliable, and a few call him mysterious in a flattering way. None of those conclusions hit the mark because they look only at behavior, not intent. Consistency to a Sigma is not about wearing the same face every day. It's about consistent discretion, the steady, quiet habit of choosing what to expose and what to lock away. That habit looks like unpredictability, but it's actually one of the most disciplined things a person can practice. There's also power in being unknowable. When others assume they know him, they act accordingly. When they don't, they hesitate, reveal themselves, or overshare. The Sigma leverages that pause. He learns faster, adapts smarter, and keeps his moves private. This duality protects him emotionally and tactically. Loved ones see warmth, rivals see impenetrability, colleagues see competence. Each audience gets what they need to believe, but none get the complete operating system. At the end of the day, his shifting identity isn't a mask to fool the world. It's a set of gates. People are allowed through one at a time after passing quiet tests, proving readiness. That's why, when someone finally touches the real thing beneath the versions, it feels like a rare, earned discovery, and why most never get close enough to claim it. Number 12. The emotional ledger they keep. Sigma males are often mistaken for being detached, as if they float through life unaffected by who gives or takes from them. On the surface, it looks that way. They nod, they stay calm, they don't make a scene when someone flakes, uses them, or takes more than they give. But beneath that stillness lies a ruthless system, an emotional ledger they never show anyone. Every act of loyalty is marked. Every moment of neglect is noted. Every subtle imbalance is recorded in a mental book that doesn't miss a single entry. Unlike most people, they don't announce when they're hurt or when they feel slighted. They won't say, "You owe me," or "That wasn't fair." Instead, they quietly track the pattern. If someone consistently shows up, supports them, or respects their boundaries, the Sigma makes a mental note to keep them close. If someone takes advantage, dismisses them, or drains their energy, they tally it without confrontation. Eventually, those tallies determine the relationship's future. What makes this ledger brutal is how final it becomes. Once the balance tips too far in the wrong direction, the Sigma doesn't explode, argue, or beg for fairness. He just closes the account. That could mean disappearing from a friendship, quietly limiting access in a relationship, or pulling back at work. People are often blindsided when this happens because they never saw the quiet accounting in the background. To them, everything seemed fine. To the Sigma, the math was already done. The reason they never reveal this ledger is simple. Exposure ruins the advantage. If people knew they were being measured, They'd alter their behavior artificially, and the Sigma doesn't want fake gestures. He wants to see the real nature of people when they think nobody's keeping track. That's when the truth comes out. Who's generous, who's selfish, who's dependable only when it's convenient. This invisible accounting system makes Sigma males appear cold, but it's not cruelty, it's efficiency. They protect their energy by investing only in people who balance the scale. Everyone else eventually finds their account closed, quietly, without warning, and without appeal. At the core of it all, Sigma males are not the mystery people make them out to be. They are precision. Every silence, every withheld truth, every hidden calculation is a deliberate choice. They don't reveal their escape routes, their buried rage, their quiet admiration, or their mental ledger, because those are the things that protect their edge. While others rush to show their hands, the Sigma plays a different game, measured, unspoken, and always 2 steps ahead. What ties all of this together is their refusal to hand anyone the blueprint to their mind. They may share fragments, throw out tests, or flash glimpses of vulnerability, but the real core stays locked away, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. They know the moment you give the world too much of yourself, you become predictable, and predictability is the death of power. So when people call them mysterious, aloof, or even cold, they're only seeing the surface. What's beneath is sharper, deeper, and far more calculated. Sigma males live by a quiet code: protect the self, master the game, and never reveal more than necessary. That's why they remain so compelling. Their silence isn't emptiness. It's strategy. Their secrecy isn't distance. It's protection. And their way of life, whether admired or misunderstood, will always keep them one step beyond the reach of ordinary understanding. And if this breakdown pulled back the curtain on things you've never considered before, don't just let it end here. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next deep dive. Drop a like if this opened your eyes, and let me know your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, share it with them. Trust me, the conversation gets a lot more interesting when more minds are in the room.